She smirked at me across the lunch table. You need to give Blake advice about. You know, she said, knowing we'd only ever kissed. The table laughed. I stayed quiet. Years later, she came to me crying after he cheated on her. The shock on her face when I smiled was perfect. Hey Reddit. This all went down years ago in high school. And I promise you, I'm in a much better place now. But the story is so insane that it feels like a waste not to share it. It's a long one. So settle in. I'll be using fake names. Obviously. So, let's set the scene. I was dating my first real boyfriend, Blake, for about 2 years. My best friend, Bella, and I had been friends for 4 years. For the first year of my relationship with Blake, those two absolutely despised each other. It was constant. Blake would pull me aside and be like, I don't get why you're friends with her. She's always putting you down. Then 5 minutes later, Bella would text me. He's taking up all your time. I never see you anymore. I felt like I was being split in two. It got so bad that I literally had to sit them both down on my couch like they were toddlers and broker a peace treaty. I just said, look, you're the two most important people in my life. You don't have to love each other. But can you please just be civil? For me, to my absolute shock, it worked. It worked a little too well. Over the next few months, they went from tolerating each other to being actual friends. Soon, we were this inseparable trio. It was us three against the world. And honestly, I was thrilled. My brain just went, finally, no more drama. My life just got so much easier. Blake was also best friends with Bella's brother, so he started having sleepovers at their house pretty often. At the time, I didn't think twice about it. He'd text me goodnight from their basement, saying they were gaming. Looking back, God only knows what was really happening on those nights. Fast forward to the second year of my relationship with Blake. Things were getting rocky. We were having those dumb, circular high school fights that feel like the end of the world. We were trying to make it work when the three of us went on a 3-day school trip. It was the perfect escape. Or so I thought. Since Bella and I were besties, we obviously roomed together. The room had 2 double beds for 4 girls. So we just pushed ours together and shared. Like we always did. The trip was fine. We all hung out, did the scheduled activities, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But when we got back, something was off. The air just felt heavy. Blake became distant, giving me one-word answers to everything. Bella was acting weird too, almost overly cheerful around me, but she'd go completely quiet whenever Blake was around. The easy, fun dynamic of our trio was gone. It felt like trying to listen to a radio station that wasn't quite tuned in. There was just static where the music used to be. My first thought was, what did I do wrong? I kept replaying conversations, trying to figure out if I'd said something to upset one of them. I eventually just told myself I was being paranoid. It was probably just post-trip exhaustion mixed with our ongoing relationship issues. It had to be. I had no idea that I was living in the quiet aftermath of a bomb that had already gone off. I was just trying to keep things from falling apart, completely oblivious to the fact that they were already a pile of rubble. Have you guys ever had that feeling? Like you're suddenly the outsider in your own closest circle. It's a lonely place to be. The weird tension after the trip was the beginning of the end for Blake and me. Our fights got worse, picking apart every little thing until there was nothing left. We eventually broke up, and it completely wrecked me. He was my first everything. My first real love. My first real heartbreak. I had no idea how to function. The one person I needed to lean on was my best friend, Bella. And that's when things went from heartbreaking to straight-up psychological warfare. We had a few classes together, and in the days right after the breakup, she started doing this thing. She'd lean over during class, phone in hand, with this fake, sympathetic look on her face. Oh my God. Look at what Blake just texted me. She'd whisper, giggle. On the screen would be some flirty message or a string of laughing emojis. My brain couldn't process it. Why is she showing me this? Is this supposed to make me feel better? I'd just stare at her. And she'd shrug and say, he's just so funny. She shoved it in my face so often and so shamelessly that I shouldn't have been surprised when, a week later, they were officially dating. The whole situation felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. And the worst part? No one at school cared. The response I got from our mutual friends was always the same bullshit line. Well, they didn't do anything to me, so I don't want to get involved. I was already a shy person, and with Blake and Bella as my only close friends, their betrayal left me totally isolated. I felt like a ghost haunting the hallways. Bella, however, seemed to thrive on my misery. She found every opportunity to torture me. She'd invite me to their Xbox parties, where I'd have to sit in silence with my headset on, listening to them flirt and call each other baby. It got even worse at lunch. Because of COVID rules, we had assigned seating, and of course, they were at my table. They would openly talk about their sex life, and then Bella would turn to me, all wide-eyed and innocent, and ask for advice. Advice, knowing full well that Blake and I had only ever kissed. It was so calculated. I realized she wasn't just happy with him. She needed me to be unhappy. This went on for months until one day, one of Blake's friends, let's call him Tim, pulled me aside in the hallway. He looked really uncomfortable. Hey, he started. I need to tell you something. I feel like a piece of crap for not saying it sooner. He took a deep breath and then just laid it all out. On the school trip, after I had fallen asleep, Bella had snuck out of our hotel room. She went to Blake's room, where all the other guys had conveniently left, and they had sex. Tim was one of the guys who knew and kept quiet. Every strange look, every awkward silence from that trip suddenly clicked into place. The static I'd been feeling finally resolved into a clear, horrifying picture. My brain started replaying the scene. Not the one Tim described, but the one that came after. I pictured her sneaking back into our room in the middle of the night. I saw her quietly slipping back into the bed we were sharing. She had sex with my boyfriend. And then she came back and slept right next to me, breathing the same air, sharing the same blankets, as if nothing had happened. Reddit. I don't even know how to describe that feeling. It was a violation on a level I can't explain. How do you even begin to process a betrayal that deep? The revelation from Tim changed everything. But it didn't solve anything. I still had to walk the same hallways, sit at the same lunch table, and pretend I wasn't being psychologically flayed alive. Senior year was my only hope. Blake was graduating a year ahead of us, which was a small mercy, but my main focus was on getting the hell out of that town and away from Bella. I was so incredibly excited to start fresh at college where no one knew my name or my history. Bella had been talking about her dream college for as long as I'd known her. It was a top-tier school that required a crazy high GPA. She had worked her ass off for it. And to her credit, she got in. Blake was going to some other, lesser-known college I'd never heard of. I had my own plans, my own school, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of peace. My future didn't include them. Then, about a month before graduation, the final bomb dropped. I heard through the grapevine that Bella had turned down her dream school. The reason? Blake's GPA wasn't high enough to get in, so she was going to his college instead. And then the final gut punch? It was the same college I was going to. She had thrown away 4 years of hard work to follow a guy to a school she never wanted, which also happened to be my one safe haven. My thoughts just short-circuited. They're following me. I'm never going to be free. That summer was absolute hell. I spent months picturing my college experience being a repeat of high school. Seeing them holding hands on the quad. Having them show up at the same parties. Maybe even ending up in one of my classes. I had to make a conscious decision. I could either spend the next 4 years looking over my shoulder, or I could decide right then and there that they were irrelevant. I resolved to make them ghosts. And you know what? It worked. I moved into my dorm and they might as well have been on another planet. The campus was huge, and I almost never saw them. I poured all my energy into my new life. I made so many incredible friends who valued and respected me. I found a new passion in my major. And eventually, I met someone amazing. My current partner, who I love more than words can say. Blake and Bella became nothing more than a bad memory. A footnote in a life that was finally, truly my own. The story could end there, and I would have been perfectly happy. But it gets better. About a year ago, after they had been dating for 3 or 4 years, I got a text from an old high school acquaintance. It was a screenshot of a Facebook post. Bella had cheated on Blake, and they had a massive, messy breakup. I just stared at the screen for a solid minute, and then I started to laugh. The relationship they built on my tears, on lies and betrayal, had ended in the exact same way it began. She threw away her entire future for him, only to be the one to burn it all to the ground. You can't build a house on a toxic waste dump and expect it to last. As Jojo Siwa once said, karma's a bitch.